Welcome to Suddenly Different, where we explore stories and strategies for life when it doesn't go to plan. I'm Leigh-Anne Sharland, inviting you to join me on this journey. What if one of the most powerful mental health interventions on the planet was free, universally accessible, and biologically contagious in the best possible way? What if it was something we've all been doing instinctively since we were babies? My guest today, Sally Pymer, has spent her entire life offering that medicine. A smile that doesn't just lift a mood, but rewires a brain, restores safety, breaks stigma, and rebuilds community connection. Sally grew up in rural Victoria and has spent over 2 decades across psychology, AOD counselling, community development, coaching, and fitness. But her message emerged the way that most meaningful messages do: quietly, organically, and honestly through her lived experience. She knows what it feels like to be unseen. Raised alongside a brother with disabilities, living with chronic lung disease since 19, and learning how to speak after throat surgery at 40. She understands invisibility from the inside. And yet, people always notice her smile. That smile eventually became a symbol, printed on T-shirts, left on small cards under windscreens and in letterboxes, and gifted to strangers who might need a moment of hope. A symbol that says, "I see you. You matter. You are not alone." Today, we explore addiction, connection, community spirit, loneliness, leadership, sleep, mental health, an incredible chemical cascade triggered by something as simple as a smile. This is a conversation about returning to our humanity through the smallest doorway. Welcome, Sally.
Well, thank you, Leigh-Anne. I'm so happy to be here and excited to be able to talk to you. It's amazing. Thank
I
you.
think when we met, I was absolutely transfixed by your smile and your energy and just that willingness to connect, because many people aren't.
No, and I think that's right. I think often we look surface level, but there's so much gold within everybody. Like I just think everybody's got so much to offer. I just see people and I'm like, I just want to know what's inside and the real person and who are you? Like, who are you really inside? Like, I think it's fascinating. And, sometimes a smile is what opens up that door to the conversation to start. It's exciting.
It does. And I mean, I've definitely had times when in the workplace, my nickname's been Smiley, because I would always smile, and that was just, who I was. And I'm a glass half full to overfilling person. And I like to see the real positivity versus that fake positivity.
Yeah, I love that, Leigh-Anne. And I'm guessing by you having that, being known as the smiley person, you would just be that smiley person because that's what you're labelled as. And as a result, other people would smile and pick up on that energy and the positivity, and they would go, "Hey, I want what she's got. Like, I want to be, the energy." And it's just so attractive to have people with that, or attractive to most people, to have that energy and, just that positivity around you. Just lifts the whole mood of everyone around you.
Yeah. And that's so important in these confusing times when we're bombarded by negativity and by doomsday kind of prophecies. You know what
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah.
It's, and we don't the media doesn't concentrate on positive things. If they have anything positive in the news broadcast, it's a gimmick.
Yes, that's right. And it's so easy to get so caught up in that. And I guess, it's the doomsday and the negativity that sells. But when you surround yourself with that all the time and that's all you're hearing, then it can really bring you down. And then other people talking negativity, it just brings the mood down. So if there's a way that we can turn it up the other way in a time that really does need a bit of a lift, then, I'm all for it. And, what can we all do to lift the mood? Because we can. We all have the power to turn up how we want. And hopefully people want to be happy and focus on the positives.
Happiness can be a natural state, right? It can be home. How there's a feeling in your body when you're home, and
Yeah.
when you're comfortable and you're generous and you're welcoming and you're comfortable. It'd be nice if that was with a smile.
Oh, exactly. And I love that. I love that sense of home, Leigh-Anne, to feel like it. I've never really heard it explained that way before, but it sounds like such a warm, supportive, beautiful place to be. So, yeah, who wouldn't want to be there? I mean, not
Yeah,
everyone does, obviously, but,
yeah.
hopefully.
Well, it's possibly not by choice that they're not. So let's talk about how you got into the smile business. Let's get down to tin tacks. So your smile logo came from a moment of suddenly realizing how often Smiley was woven through your stories. Can you share how that symbol emerged? Your smile. I know you're wearing it today. And why it's now so important to you and to your mission in this world.
Yeah, well, I guess it's something that I like 12 months ago, I never expected to be in this place now. So it's about 8 months ago, I signed up for a speaking course, and I still am trying to work out how I ended up in that speaking course. It's like this really weird thing. Somehow I went from not knowing the person taking it to all of a sudden I'm enrolled and I'm in it, and I go, how did I end up here? But in the process of developing stories for my keynote speech, I thought I'd be talking about exercise addiction, alcohol, and other drug. But every story seemed to have how a smile was what connected it. So, I smiled at someone and they gradually opened up, and it was that opening to conversation. And then there was a story about Kevin Hines, which mentioned suicide. And if someone acknowledged him, he wouldn't have made an attempt on his life. So I thought, well, a smile relates to that. It was often, all these stories had that smile element in it. And other people in my program are like, well, the smile's the message. And I'm like, no, it's not strong enough. Like, how can I sell a smile when every other speaker's talking leadership and exercise and stuff? And I've got this really weak smile message. But the more I got into it, the more it seemed that smile was so powerful. And when I went with it, it just really seemed to take off. It did take a while for me to get my head around it. I had things in the back of my head that when I worked in the hospital, people mentioned how I smiled, but it wasn't something I thought about doing. I just did it. It just became just this powerful message that can make such a big difference with something so simple. And I guess by having a tool that anybody could use. So I think often we live in a world that tries to make complicated solutions which can be quite easy solutions. Like there's complicated problems, we trying to find complicated solutions when really there's quite easy solutions, and it can be a smile. It can be so powerful. So it came about from writing stories for a keynote speech, and then it just progressed from there.
Wow. So it sounds almost like through journaling, you discovered yourself, right? You discovered your superpower, and now you wear it on the front of your T-shirt. Do you want to stand up?
Yes.
Oh, that's gorgeous.
So I have that,
I
and on the
love it.
back, I don't know if do you want to see the back?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so I don't know if you can see it. So on the back, it's got your smile can change the world.
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
Gorgeous.
So, but I didn't go straight to t-shirts.
I think it was time to introduce your T-shirt. It is a character in this story and it is part of your journey.
Wow. It definitely is. And, I just thought I'd get a couple for myself just to wear. And then a friend said, hey, look, I'd buy one. And before you know it, I'm selling hoodies, t-shirts and hats that the community wants. So, yeah, you never know where it can go and the ripple effect that can occur from it. So it's
Well, yeah.
amazing.
So while you were exploring the stories, the surprises that were popping out to tell you what your message was, you did some research into the scientific and chemical elements of smiling. So what actually happens to the brain and body when we smile and also when someone smiles at us?
Yeah, well, it's actually really quite fascinating. So you don't actually have to have a real smile to actually have the effects. So when you smile, even if it's fake, your brain picks up on your facial expression and thinks you must be happy. So in response, it releases feel-good chemicals. So it releases dopamine, which increases your motivation, serotonin, which stabilizes your mood, endorphins, which reduce pain and reduce stress. So a simple smile actually is this release of all these chemicals. But I really find it interesting that, even if it's fake, your body picks up on that um, emotion. But also, when you smile, because they're contagious, like I think this is hilarious and I love this. Because they're contagious, other people pick up on that as well. So they smile. So then they're releasing those same feel-good chemicals, the dopamine, the serotonin, the endorphins. And so not only have you made yourself feel better, you've made others around you feel better as well. But, it has additional positive effects as well. So it improves your motivation, it improves your immune system, it reduces stress, it makes you more likely to be socially connected, which improves mental health. And yeah, it's really, really, really quite powerful. And, researchers have showing that, people who smile are more likely to live longer because of that social connectedness and, being more positive. So they did a study of baseball players and they looked at early life photographs. And then years later, yeah, those with the more intense smiles actually lived significantly longer, which I think is really fascinating. So that was Abel and Kruger did that study in 2010. And there's also a psychologist called Martin Seligman who claims that, he found that smiling makes you appear younger and more approachable. And it leads to greater resilience in the face of adversity. So it just really, it's got so many powerful effects, something so small, all the little chemicals zinging off in your body.
Yeah, I well, so I know that the words that you say make a difference,
Yeah.
but I didn't know that the smile releases the chemicals. I know that crying releases chemicals
Yeah,
and it sort of washes your emotional system, but that's so interesting and so easy.
exactly.
Now, I'm going to tell you something that just popped into my head, which
Yeah,
is
love
hilarious.
it.
So I imagined while you were speaking, I had an image of people doing an exercise workout class, but not moving any of their body, just making their
Yeah.
smiles, right? So really working on the smile expression. And so this is the new 2025 tip is do a smile workout every morning before you start your day.
Oh, look, I love that. At the 5 minutes and look in the mirror and you're getting that reflection back at you.
That's right.
Yeah, I love that. And, you're releasing those chemicals. And what I didn't say also was the act of smiling over time, it literally rewires your brain for happiness. So that's where you were talking about it before, Leigh-Anne, about, being home. So, and you being the smiley person, your brain will be rewired for happiness. And the more you smile, the more it constantly rewires. But I guess it's the opposite as well. If you're always negative, it's rewiring your brain for negativity. So how do we want our
Yes.
brains to be, I guess, is the
Yeah. And
choice.
that's right. And I think that when we're in that negative feeling, lost space, we forget that we have choice, right? We 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 feel that the world is doing it to us and that we are powerless and it's difficult to see the choice that you can make. But if you could choose smile, it's free.
It is. It definitely is free. And I completely get where you're at, Leigh-Anne. Like, sometimes when you are in that negative space and you've got blow after blow gets thrown at you and you're like, the world's against me, it can be really hard to see the positives and to see any difference and see there is another choice. But, is going to a smile, just looking at a picture of a smile or going back to some photos of when you were happy, is that a way that you can just bring a brief moment back into your life of, here's a smile, here was a happy time, and gradually just try to lift yourself out of it? I
Yeah.
know it's not that easy, but, sounds good in theory.
But well, I actually think it works in practice and it's people like you who spread possibility when they're sharing their message. So you also speak about the soul of a smile. So what does that mean for you beyond the physiological and biological responses, that soul of a smile?
I think it's that, when you're really seen, like, you have that real eye to eye contact, or, it's that real, you feel like it really hits you in the heart. So you see that smile in your eyes and you're like, hey, that smile has just lit off all these, well, it's probably all the feel good chemicals, but
Yeah.
it's just that real feeling of connection that you're seen. Someone has seen you and they haven't had to say a word. All they've actually done is look at you and smile. And it's this amazing communication that breaks down barriers and just makes you feel like you're worthy and important and you don't need to be anybody else. And I think that's it. A simple smile like that can show, hey, look, I'm accepted for who I am. And that's quite powerful in itself, to lift self-esteem and the mood and things like that. So it's that connection that allows you to feel amazing and worthy and important, and that, I deserve to take up space on this earth.
I deserve to be here. Yes, absolutely. I know that during the lockdowns, there must have been a reprieve, or it was just before the lockdown. I went shopping in a $2 shop to buy different symbols of smiling, right? Because I was worried about wearing this mask and people not seeing the smile, because that's one of the things that when I go for a walk, I meet people, I look them in the eye, I smile at them. I may never know them, I may never speak to them, but I smile. So I felt that part of me was missing during that time where we were wearing masks. So I had one of those yellow smile pictures, similar to your logo on my mask. But you've done something even further, is that you've printed smile cards and left them under windscreens and in letterboxes so that people get your care and your connection even when they don't see you. So what did these tiny anonymous gestures teach you about that connection?
Look, I think you can have that connection And I think you can leave an impact and not actually never know the impact that you have. Like, I think so often we're waiting for a response that we need to know that people have seen it. But, I had these anonymous. No one knew who they were for quite a while. And I would just put it there. And I think there's something a bit magical about that, about just not needing that response, but just giving for the sake of giving and hoping that someone will accept it and actually like that. Because, you're hearing a lot of people will say, oh, I've given this to this person and this person and this person, and they never give back. But I don't think I don't think the world often works like that. We can be givers and just give for the sake of giving because it makes us feel good. And I've absolutely loved it. I love just putting random cards under windscreens, and I put them under doctors' doors, and I heard out they've got them at a medical clinic now. They found out who I was. So they've actually got them at reception in the medical clinic. So people will see that smile when they come out. Some people have put them on their mirrors. So every morning they just see that smile on the mirror. It's the first thing that greets them. Yeah, and I saw someone, I was at a market the other day, and I had my cards there. And this lady said, I've already seen that. And I said, really? She said, yeah, I found one under my windscreen. And she said it left a really good impact and made her feel good. And the ripple effect from that can just flow on so much as well. So she felt happier. She went back to work and felt happier. And then it just spreads through the whole workplace and the community. And then her kids, she was happier when she went home to her kids. And then that was a calmer place. So, you think something as simple as a smile card doesn't mean much, but the ripple effect can be massive. And then because they're cards, some people have gone, I don't need this anymore, and they've passed it on to someone else, which I think's amazing. So I heard another guy say, look, I found one of your cards. I gave it to my workmate. He needed it, and they thought it was amazing. It's just,
That's so
yeah.
good.
But I think there's something magical about giving. That giving for the sake of giving, and it's just lifts my heart to do that.
And unconditional giving without expecting anything in return is so beautiful, because it is about the other person.
Yeah.
When you're expecting a reaction, when you're expecting something back, you're doing it for yourself. So I love that unselfish method or thinking that you're using, and your intention is for that ripple effect to just flow through the community, and ultimately we should have a competition on how far your card gets, so that we have one go round Australia and go overseas even.
Yeah, look, that would be amazing, wouldn't it? You kind of think about, have this little dot on it. How far does this card go? But I think I also go a bit by the theory that you never know who might need that card today. And I'm just trusting that the person that needs it that day will get it. And, I think of Kevin Hines, who just needed someone to acknowledge him that day. Otherwise, he wouldn't have made an attempt on his life. Something as simple as a card could do that, or you just gives them the boost. So, yeah, you just never know the impact, and you don't have to know the impact. That's it. So, yeah.
So you live in rural Victoria, and that can be lonely. Because the community is so widespread. It's not like in the suburbs where it can be too connected.
Yeah.
So in rural Victoria, what is your understanding of the loneliness and belonging and the importance of community?
Yeah, look, I think loneliness, it's a very interesting concept and thing to think about, because you can be surrounded by people and be very lonely because you don't have that connection. So, and you can have few people around you, but you can actually feel really connected because the few people that you have around you will connect. So I used to live in the town of Horsham. I now live on a farm. but I would probably say I'm more connected to the community now, like my farming community, when I have people, like the closest house is like 500 meters away, than what I did in town when I had people all around me. And also, I write an article for a paper, and there's a guy from Sydney. He actually went to a regional place and said he loved it there because people smiled at him there, but they never smiled back in the city. But in saying that, also, if you're from a regional town and you don't feel like you fit in, it can be very lonely. So, we often tend to know each other. We know each other's stories, and there can be stigma and exclusion for who you are, what your family name is, or where you've come from, or what you've done in the past. And that can be really hard to actually find those people to connect with. And that's really, really isolating. Where I think if you're in the city, you're probably more likely to be able to, there's more people to choose from, or find people who are similar to you there, I think. So it's, I find loneliness and isolation is very, very interesting because I think everybody craves connection no matter where they are. Community, like football clubs, sporting groups can be amazing in the country, but if you're not involved in sporting clubs or you don't like that, you can feel a bit excluded as well, a bit like the outcast in the town, unless you can find others who are interested in the same things as you. But yeah, the farmers around here, you put your one finger up, you got your one finger wave, or you wave at everybody, and that can be really really great to do that. But you can also walk down the main street and no one will acknowledge you like the city. Like, I think it's
Right.
not that everybody in the city doesn't acknowledge you, but I notice a big
No.
difference when I go to the city that,
Yeah.
people have got their heads down, they don't smile. There's a bit of that lack of trust, perhaps.
Yeah, yeah. And unfortunately we get caught in this time thing. We don't have enough time to be interrupted. We've got this illusion that if we don't do all the tasks, all the things
Yeah.
in the time, it's a crazy, crazy, crazy existence.
The pressure. Yeah, and I think, and I know particularly some people who are perhaps older generation or not up to technology, like, or they like going into, like, farmers, they like going into town to see people, but with online banking and with, self-serve supermarkets and things, you can actually go into the city or the town and no one acknowledge you or not actually say hello to anybody, even though you might have passed 100 people. So I think that incidental social connection is so vitally important for a lot of people as well.
Absolutely. And do you think that we as a society underestimate the mental health impact of those micro moments of connection?
Like,
We're too
totally.
worried about money.
I think so. I think those micro moments, those incidental conversations, and I know I worked from home and I've worked in the office. And sometimes it's those incidental conversations that you have in the office that are the most powerful. And when you're online working from home, you still have meetings and connected, but you can't have that incidental and know if someone's struggling so much. I might see you for an hour today, Leigh-Anne, but if I see you come in late in the morning or you look a bit sad or you're not eating lunch or you're working through, we can pick up on that if we're around people. And people just, yeah, they just crave that connection to be seen by someone. I mean, social connection is vital for health. Like, we are
It is.
we are people who need to be around others. And while we keep taking those micro moments away, we're reducing that opportunity for connection and for what's really vital for our survival. So,
Yes.
yeah,
And with AI being implemented more and more to increase output and replace these micro moments, our designers, the people who are developing our systems, our processes, our future experiences, need to really expand their thinking to think about the impact on the social fabric of our communities, because it isn't all about bottom line numbers.
No, and, when you think about, all the effort going into that and we're taking away, services and social connection, but then our mental health numbers or people wanting support is not going down, is it? Like, I mean, the way I
No,
see it
going
is,
up.
we're taking from one area and actually contributing to poorer health in the long run by what we're doing. So, more pressure on those in the healthcare system and in services. And, we don't, there's always this cry that we don't have enough mental health support, and we don't. But, if we took it back to that social connection and incidental and things like that, in the long run, we're probably going to save a whole lot of money, have healthier communities, happier communities, and better off in the long run. But
Yeah. Yeah, that is absolutely true, because they're not looking at the big picture. They're just looking at their lane.
yeah,
And it is so vitally important, especially with, the fear and the confusion that is being added to the load that people carry every day.
yeah,
So both you and I
yes,
have lived through different forms of acceptable addiction, right? So you had a exercise habit that went beyond physical fitness crossed into an addiction. And I, through my feeling imposter syndrome and feeling of not good enough, I had pardon me, I had a work addiction, right? So I was so scared that I was going to be discovered. I worked ridiculous hours, but it was acceptable. The work got done. They didn't have to employ somebody else. So how do socially accepted addictions, work, exercise, achievement, escape detection, cause deep internal harm?
I think it's because it seems socially accepted. I think too. I mean, like with exercise and work, often they're things that you need to do. So, you need to work and we don't need to exercise, but it's encouraged to exercise. So it's almost like sometimes seen as the more you do, the better. But I think it becomes, it's who you're around as well. So like I can say for myself, is it who you are around, um, encourages you to follow those behaviors, or do you become attracted to those same people with those behaviors? For instance, with my exercise, I started off at the gym, like going to the gym, and then I had more and more classes, and then I got into triathlons. And I found with time, who I associated with were the people who had similar behaviors than me. So it didn't seem abnormal. And I think with work, often it is people are working longer and longer hours. So it nearly becomes socially accepted that that's what you do. And if you don't do it, it's like, well, why are you not doing it like everybody else is doing it? And there almost feels like this element of laziness or, well, not laziness, but it's like, well, you're not performing as much as us because you're not working as hard. But yeah, it becomes, and I guess it's the output with work too. Like, people are not going to question you, Leigh-Anne, because they're saving money by you working longer hours. But, if it's affecting your health and everyday other activities, then it's harmful. I do know when I was doing a bit of exercise, a guy worked at the petrol station and I used to walk past every day to the gym. And one day he yelled out to me, he said, "Sally, remember you've only got one body." And I just wanted to hit it. I'm like, you don't understand. Like, you're lazy, you're here. I want to exercise. You're just, you're jealous. But it stuck in my head. And now, 25 years later, I think he was really looking out for me. But, I got to compete overseas and became quite successful. But then it becomes this pressure from other people, like often their conversations like, what's your next event? What are you going to do? And it almost became this pressure that this is who you are. That's your identity. I'm the person that exercises. I do these crazy events. So I live up to that reputation and satisfy, my followers. And I don't know about you, Leigh-Anne, but maybe you were known as the person who worked hard and worked long hours, and that became your identity, maybe.
And I was the go-to person that anyone could go to, and I could answer their question and I could help them. I would willingly give them my time to help them do their job. And
Yeah.
then I would have to do mine in my own time.
Yeah, and that's that real giving, really, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
and with
Yeah.
that imposter syndrome, like maybe is that like, well, I can help this person. Does that take your imposter syndrome down a little bit? Oh, so it's still
No,
that
no,
giving.
it didn't. It didn't. The fortunate thing is I've woken up to it, to the reality of what I was doing. But it is really hard when you're in it, when you're doing it, and when your identity is so intertwined with what you do and who you do it for, and you no longer are doing it for you.
Yeah. I think you've really hit something there. Yeah. That sometimes it doesn't become about you anymore. And, I speak in my keynote about the parallels between clients I was working with and my exercise addiction. And one of their comments was, I just want to retire. I want to give up. I'm exhausted. But my friends no longer take me seriously anyway when I say I'm retiring. And they tell me I can't give up because being an athlete is just who I am. When you've got that identity, then you just keep doing it and you're like, oh, I'm exhausted, but there's this pressure. But while you're around similar people, and I think that's it too. Sometimes you associate with those people who are similar. It becomes normal and you push each other on a little bit too. It's almost like, oh, I'll do a bit more, I'll do a bit more, I'll do a bit more, I'll do a bit more. Yeah.
Competition, right? And,
Yeah.
and that happens in the workplace too, where,
Yeah.
you're early in, laid out. You're working from home, you're working from your holiday. As long as you can get internet connection, you're working, and people don't believe that you won't.
No.
So they ask.
Yeah. And the more you do it, the more people just accept that that's what you do if you don't have those boundaries. Yeah, it's okay.
And when you stop, they then see you as not performing.
And that's it. And if you feel like you've got imposter syndrome or you're lacking a bit of self-worth, that really eats at you because you don't want to be that person who's not seen as performing or being slack or whatever. So it just becomes that cycle. And I'm not sure if it was the same for you, Leigh-Anne, but it was like when you get into that, doing that, you nearly need to do more to get the same effect to feel like you're normal nearly. Like I need that. I need to exercise more or work more to actually feel normal and get that buzz from working hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's not
And
good.
it's not. It's not. It's not good. It's not acceptable. And like any addict, it is hard to break,
Yeah.
because the role of disconnection from self has a big part of addiction, doesn't it?
Yeah, totally. Totally. So, you're running from while you're working hard or you're exercising, you don't actually have time to think about not feeling worthy or the pain that you've got in your life or anything like that because you're so focused on, and like it was with me, if I had spare moment, I was planning my next training session or thinking about my training session or what was coming next. So I never had time to let the world catch up. So it's like, for me, it's like you're continuously running from the inside pain of, once it catches up, that's going to be scary. So I'll just keep running and I'll just keep going. And while you keep doing that, yeah, you don't have any time to face those inner demons, I guess. to find out what's there. Yeah. And after a while it becomes exhausting, but it's just this cycle that, and when you become exhausted, it's like, well, I'm still trying to run. And it's almost like you're continuously running harder to try to get away from it. Yeah.
And it is interesting how people who have an addiction to one thing who manage to stop that one thing, but they haven't solved the problem, so they move on to something else as their new addiction.
Yeah. And I was doing Ironman events, and some of the very successful Ironman athletes used to have problems with drugs or alcohol, or sometimes it was people who were successful athletes, then once they retire, have problems with drugs or alcohol or something else. So often it's replaced with something else if you don't deal with the underlying things and let the world catch up. But yeah,
Yeah.
and, it's probably easier to see the person who's gone from alcohol dependence to the Ironman athlete as being successful, and they've done a really great job, and like they have, but they've just gone from a not so socially accepted addiction to a socially accepted addiction, and still those underlying issues are there. It's very interesting
Yeah.
how we perceive different people and different addictions as acceptable or not.
So, in your opinion, why is compassion, not shame, the only pathway out of addiction?
Look, if we're shaming people, often people are feeling unworthy and flat and low if you've got an addiction. If you shame someone, it doesn't make the pain go away. It just adds to it. So, with a lot of people I worked with who were told you need to give up, you need to give up. Yeah, they didn't give up alcohol or drugs. Their use increased because their pain increased. And what people need is support. But we never truly understand anybody else. Me as an alcohol, another drug worker, the worst thing I could say is, I understand you. I've given up alcohol before, so this is how you do it. Because I'm not that person, and what might work for me doesn't work for someone else. So I would often say, no matter what you've been through, I will never truly understand you, but try to understand you the best I can. And I think that needs to be the acceptance that we are all different. We've had different ways we've been brought up, backgrounds, environmental factors. There's so many different factors that contribute to who we are. And so I think we need to have an understanding of that and try to understand people as best we can, but not tell them we know them. That makes sense.
Yeah, well, that's right. So many people say, yeah, I've been through that. You just need to read this book, and you'll be changed forever.
Yeah.
Right. To pop this pill, you'll be all right. And the wound or the belief or the story that is the basis for your actions isn't healed.
No, that's right. And I think we need to have an understanding and acceptance of other people's stories, and acceptance that people do have a story that we know nothing about. Or we need to have that willingness or openness, and that we're willing for people to share their story, because, while people feel stigmatized or shamed, people are not going to open up and tell them exactly what's happening because they're scared of being shamed more. But, if people feel safe and they feel like you're a person that's not going to judge and going to accept them for who they are, then people are more likely to open up and go, hey, look, it doesn't matter what I say. They're going to accept me anyway. And so it really opens that level of trust and ability to start healing and working on what people want to do. Yeah, because
So, Sally, you're really passionate about prevention in the mental health space, in the connection space. So, in looking at the smile, do you think that having the smile as the basis in a community can make a difference to the entire community?
I do. And it seems like something so simple, but it can actually have a massive effect. And whether people believe me or not, I will give my perspective. But, if you're having that smile and someone feels seen and accepted for who they are, they're more likely to get out in the community and not isolate themselves. So you've got that social connection for a start. I've worked with clients who have worn tracksuit pants and stuff to the supermarket, which is nothing wrong with that, but they've felt stigmatized for doing that. So as a result, don't go to the supermarket anymore. So they buy drive-through takeaway. So then driveway takeaway is affecting your health. And then over time, your physical health declines, your mental health declines, you turn to substances to dull the ache. And then before you know it, you're more stigmatized. So, you've got that social connection. It encourages you to eat healthy. And like I think you said to me, Leigh-Anne, you wore that smile on your mask. And it could encourage someone to walk the next day to see you with that smile. You don't actually have to know that person. That could encourage them to exercise. So all of a sudden you've got people physically active. I've worked in the healthcare system, and people have been totally ill in urgent need of medical care, but have refused to go due to previous stigma. So have made their health get a whole lot worse until it's absolutely urgent before they've presented. So, if we're getting someone present to the hospital or to the GP, in the early stages of illness, it's preventing a whole lot of flow-on effect. Might prevent the need for having a hospital bed. It frees up the emergency services. It frees up the bed. It also means they're healthier. And, if you're healthier and happier, you're more active in your community as well. So you're more likely to be involved in the workforce if you're happy and you feel accepted and just connected. And then, if you're in the workforce, you have more income. You can buy more food. It just has so many flow-on effects, which that's only touching the surface. But I just think something as simple as a smile could be so powerful in so many areas.
Yes. I think, there's such depth to it. It influences stress hormones, resilience, nervous system, like,
Yeah.
self-worth. It just influences so many different things. And many people have stories in their subconscious about facial expressions from their childhood. But a smile, we've all seen a glorious smile. They're that smile that goes to the eyes and like creates like a halo kind of effect. And
Yes,
so it is something that is less traumatizing than other facial expressions.
definitely. And they're free. Like they're free too.
That's right.
So, they're inclusive and anyone can to give them, like we said, we talked about the hormones it releases. Like, wouldn't you like to release those hormones free rather than paying for drugs or something else that releases the dopamine and the other things as well. So who doesn't want free medicine that's going to make you feel good and has so many
That's
powerful
right.
benefits?
That's right. So what is your ultimate aim with the smile movement? Have you got a big picture, a big, hairy, audacious goal?
Look, I'm not someone to think big, but I'm thinking big. Like, I would love to take this. Like, how amazing would it be to take this around the world? Because, smiles are universal as well. So it doesn't matter what language you speak. We can all smile. Like, it doesn't matter your age, your cultural background, anything. So I would just love to get the whole world smiling and connected. But I think my ultimate goal is to show we're all a whole lot more similar than different and to open that doors of connection. It's a social connection thing. Let's bring the world together and eliminate barriers, reduce stigma, reduce this division, and just connect through that smile and work together because we're a whole lot more powerful together than in these little silos of isolation. So let's just get the world smiling.
Let us get the world smiling. So if you could leave the listeners with one simple action that they could take today, what would it be?
Look, I think it would have to be, just smile more. Smile at strangers, smile at the customers. Well, I mean, smile at everyone, but don't be scared to smile at a stranger. And if they don't smile back, don't worry. They will still have picked up on that, and you don't know the impact you're having. So, something simple. Just smile at as many people as you can each day.
Yeah, yeah, that is fabulous, Sally. So, Sally has brought us back to a truth that is simple enough to be forgotten and powerful enough to change a life. A connection doesn't require intensity, time, or perfect emotional intelligence. It requires presence. It requires noticing, and sometimes it requires nothing more than a smile that reaches our eyes. Her work reminds us that prevention belongs beside treatment, that we can soften loneliness long before crisis, reduce shame before it calcifies, and strengthen communities through tiny, consistent acts of humanity. Every one of us carries a tool that costs nothing, transcends culture, and communicates safety instantly. And every one of us has the ability to be the unexpected bright spot in someone's day. Thank you, Sally, for helping us remember what it is to be human together. To connect with Sally, learn more, or bring her message into your workplace or community, go to www.empoweredwithsally.com.au. Until next time, stay connected, stay compassionate, because small things save lives. Thank you, Sally.
Well, thank you so much, Leigh-Anne. It's been great sharing beautiful smiles with you today.
Wonderful.
This has been Suddenly Different. I'm Leigh-Anne Sharland, and I'm so grateful you shared your time with me. If you felt a spark, a tear, or a moment of recognition, I hope you'll pass that gift along by sharing this show. Take a deep breath, trust your path, and I'll meet you back here soon.